This video supports co-ops in reaching 50% gender parity for women and non-binary people, and increasing representation of equity-deserving groups, including Indigenous peoples, Black and/or people of color, people with visible and invisible disabilities, and 2S LGBTQ+ and/or gender and sexually diverse individuals.
I feel like this is a milestone for Vancity to achieve and surpass the 50-30 challenge. And really, I appreciate being here because we are enacting Co-op Principle 6, and we're sharing information around how we achieved the 50-30 challenge to help other co-ops, credit unions, and really support each other. Because this work is not just one of the organization or the government, but it's a community that makes this happen. So there's been so many factors, I think, that contributed to us achieving the 50-30 challenge. And I really think it comes down to our core values around community, around support, and it made sense for us to commit to the 50-30 challenge, particularly if we're creating a space of equity. And so some factors that I'm really proud of and passionate about is the employee resource groups. There was a focus this year, and my role was quite new, and so I was put into this role to manage the employee resource groups as well as provide support to the chairs. So things that they needed and converse with the ELT members, the executive sponsors, to be able to support those groups and understand what issues, advice, and insights were coming out of the business. So I think it comes down to us listening to our staff. I think for me that is huge. I will tell you I've worked in other organizations where maybe it's like you do your work and that's it, but having the ability to bring your true self to work and not have to hide who you are, or if you're having a bad day, is really important to me. And I hope that that's echoed throughout our whole organization. And I do think that's why people have stayed for so long. Like you may have heard through this video or filming that there's been long tenured staff here.
Something that I am celebrating is I feel very honored and I'm very excited to be working with an organization that really allows us to put diversity and inclusion at the forefront. And I work with a team of recruiters, and I think we're in a really unique position because we are on the front line of bringing in talent, and we really do have the support of the organization and the leadership to really focus on diversity and to break down barriers as well within our recruitment process to ensure that our process is a lot more inclusive and is welcoming, and that because we truly do believe that everyone can make an impact here at Vancity. I think Vancity places a lot of importance on diversity and inclusion, and I see that reflected in my team as well. I have a team of very diverse recruiters, and it's incredible because we're able to reflect and represent some of the communities that we're connecting with as well. And I think something that's really important is the organization gives us the ability or the power to be able to innovate our processes and change our processes to break down anything that may present barriers to communities so that we're able to have this inclusive recruitment process. And when I say that, I immediately think about, very recently we removed the mandatory reference checking for all of our candidates. And so now we're able to really just focus on what's important when bringing candidates into the organization. I also think about, very recently we started posting our salary ranges on all of our public job postings. And although we're not the first to do that in BC, we're definitely ahead of the curve here in the area. And I think that that's so exciting because we truly do believe that transparency is equity. And by us sharing our salary ranges, we give candidates the ability to really advocate for themselves and to share what their true salary expectations are. And that just gets us one step closer to closing wage gaps. think that that's really because we value lived experience. And when you value lived experience and you're an organization who advocates for people to come and present their lived experience to us, it's important for us to understand that that may not always present itself in the rigid ways that corporate organizations normally would check on their candidates or validate their candidates. So yeah, it is very exciting.
Why they might have a gut reaction or talk about things like the halo effect. If someone looks, acts, feels like you, therefore they're safe, so let's hire them because I can do this amount of work and I'm pretty sure they can. But that's rooted in bias, like you're not testing anything. So I think we do talk about that, and we are starting to train on be aware of your biases because they do come into play with hiring, and representation matters. We know that. If you're able to see yourself in senior leadership, you're more likely to apply for those roles. If you don't, it's the feeling of, do I belong there? And that's a potential of yes or no, and it might deter you from applying or even thinking you can get there. We can think differently and make the experience better and more equitable.
The truth of the matter is, if you give it the opportunity, privilege always walks through the door first. And so I think when we're thinking about, our processes and the changes that we've really made, it's really highlighting and giving voice to those and opportunity to those who maybe have been overlooked or maybe haven't been given equal opportunity to really present their skill sets and show what they would bring to the table in a professional environment.
So Vancity's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Reconciliation team, we changed our name, I would say about a year and a half ago, to include reconciliation. And I think that is such an important piece and shows our commitment to reconciliation. For me, although we've been doing it for many years, having it in our titles show that we are committed, but also it gives the opportunity for others to ask questions that may not know what reconciliation is as it relates to Canada, or when you hear reconciliation or reconcile, you might think of accounting terms. And so just really highlighting it as a focus, I believe is the right thing to do, and it's brought, I think, the right questions and curiosity and willingness to learn and unlearn from our employees and our community.
I'm lucky enough to say I've been with this organization for 15 years now, and I've been a part of the journey, of the reconciliation journey. I know that we adopted that as a core value in 2015, reconciliation, but we've been doing the work for much longer than that. I remember in 2011 we did the reconciliation walk, and I think 70,000 people showed up for that. And that was before we even adopted that word as a core value and understanding what reconciliation means and actually walking the talk. So to do a walk like that and to walk the talk and then to adopt that core value, to me, I see it in everything I do, whether it stems from the top to the bottom. Like, we have a lot of support within our executive leadership team with the work that we're doing. I can speak on just like the chair work that I do with our employee resource group. We work with not just leadership, but with staff, and we use their lived experiences and their voices to make the change that we need within the organization. And actually, it's kind of cool to see Vancity doing this work, because I'm not going to say we're the first of its kind, because I can't speak on that, but I can say that from my experience working within this organization, everything is interconnected in that way. And if it's aligned with that work, then I feel so supported with the work that I do as an Indigenous recruiter to be able to lead this work in a authentic way, but also to hear the voices of our ERG group and to have them involved and engaged with, like I said, we co-created the curriculum for the wealth mindset financial literacy program, and so we got to use lived experiences and voices from our staff. And again, this is from top to bottom, where everyone's included, and we get to hear and use the voices of the communities we're trying to serve. And so for me, that's huge. I love that in every component of the work that I do here at Vancity, there's reconciliation embedded in everything and support from the top to bottom. And to me, that's major. It's not just coming from the top, it's including everybody's voices, and that's the inclusivity of it all, and I love it. So
how we've done that is looking at our policies and procedures from a decolonized lens, but then also seeing how we can incorporate the two-eyed seeing approach, which is taking both Western philosophy and Indigenous philosophies and marrying the two to see how we can really bring that to life and benefit for all. And so an example of that is looking at our policies from that perspective to ensure that they're not causing or furthering harm or oppressing individuals without us knowing.
Yes, we celebrate each other all the time by monthly, but actually last June we got celebrated as from the organization. We were honored and we had a ceremony, and it was for me it was life-changing and also very healing. And I never experienced that. I'm not from my territory, and to be welcomed in from Squamish and Cedar Cleanse and all of that, to me was very, especially doing this work, right? Leading this work and working with these communities, that to me is a bigger celebration. What has really helped our group stay super connected, we do and connect outside of work and work together and communicate. And I think it's like I said, a few of our members have said to us, if it wasn't for this group, I wouldn't be here. And it's because of that connection piece. And I don't think we realize how important it is for that sense of belonging, right? And I see that now more in the work that I do, that it's so important that we have everyone engaged and feeling good about the work they're doing, but also that connection piece. And so that's why I mentioned the paint night, because we came and celebrated here and had a paint night, and it was wonderful.
I think it started with our declaration to be an anti-racist organization, where we've really become more prudent and accountable to both the audit that was done, but continuing to spur other work that's happened. And so for us, collection of diversity data has helped inform where our organization is at and where it needs to go, both from a representation perspective, but then looking beyond that. So looking at our data from where are there gaps in representation among the different levels of within an organization. And that includes, again, the accountability piece of external commitments like the Black North Pledge, the 50-30 Challenge, for example. I think another piece of when it has helped us from a sustainment perspective is our leadership. Having a chief equity and people officer and having it embedded in her role to help the organization become anti-racist, there's again that accountability piece. And then within our organization, now we're in a place of having areas actually have DEIR experts to help facilitate and implement initiatives and strategies. On top of our organization declaring that they want to be an anti-racist organization, our board has actually declared that last year, or actually in 2021. And with that has come a review of our governance practices and how we actually, again, take a more inclusive and anti-racist lens to the way we govern an organization that's anti-racist. And for us, it means going beyond just, the capacity building sessions and training. It's actually going into the practices of governance and how sometimes the design is to oppress. And so again, our board commitment has really helped both keep us accountable, but then continue to push on leading for an organization on what it means to be an anti-racist organization.